Welcome. Today we're going to be learning race, class, and gender is the topic for our study today. And as you can see, race, class, and gender in the 20th century Bahamas has always been a very nebulous concept in terms of the history of the Bahamas. And we can look here and see that our history was a constructed history in the Bahamas. So the history was taught to us by the colonial British masters. And so a true history of the Bahamas has never been told up until the early 1990s when scholars were allowed to, black Bahamian scholars mostly got scholarships from the government, the now majority rule government, to go to university and attend university. And upon return home, now these educated people were now in the position to write their own books, hence write their own histories. And so that's now the education in the Bahamas has moved from one of miseducation, misconstructed education, to now a true and valued history and a true and valued belief system and identity. And so now I want us to look at a short video on the history of the Bahamas, and after that we'll have a discussion on the video.
One of Great Britain's self-governing colonies. Its capital city, Nassau, is situated on the island of New Providence, about the size of Staten Island in New York Harbor. And to the harbor of Nassau, as calm as a pond, come great ocean liners, loaded with passengers, headed for this haunt of happiness and carry. The sea-going giant is surrounded by native black boys in small boats, eager to dive for flashing coins that will be thrown from crowded decks. Shallow shoals, a tender is drawn up to take off passengers, who literally step across a threshold of romance. The landing is the introduction to much that is delightful, strange, and fascinating. Along the wharf, women of rather good size are seen making mats, baskets, and hats by braiding together strips of dry palm leaves. And what lady just off the boat could resist buying a new hat here, handmade in the very latest Nassau style, smartly modeled. Bahamian baskets of sisal are famous for their variety of color and form, and the women who preside over the wares are as picturesque as the merchandise. Both present a quaintness and coloring that is unique.
So now that we have watched the video and you have a little idea on the history of the Bahamas in terms of colonial Bahamas and the life of the people in colonial Bahamas, I have a few questions that I want us to discuss right now at this point. The images that, number one, the images that you saw in question, discuss those images and what you thought about the portrayal of black Bahamian citizens during this time. And we see that in the first clip, in the first image, the tourists coming in on the boats and the young men in the water, they're throwing coins to them. This representation of black Bahamian youth is clearly as though as servants to these people waiting for these tourists to come into the country to throw them whatever coins, whatever they think, and they find fun and folly from this. And so these representations are just showing the dependency of the black Bahamian people still, even after colonialism, they're still dependent upon the tourist dollar. Yes, it's been changed from slavery and now replaced with colonialism. The face of slavery is still the same, black Bahamian youth. The face of colonialism is still the same, European white tourist. And so this is not, this paradigm between black and white, the shifts has not shifted. It's all the same. Only now there's money involved in it. So what do you think, when we look at our tourism today in this country, and we look at colonial Bahamas in terms of tourism, has there been a lot of changes? And also, when we look at the images, the representation of the Bahamian women in this video, and the way that they're marketed, you know, as festival, full-figured women making these hats and clothes, and, you know, for the tourists to come and to enjoy. And so when we market the Bahamas, what are these portrayals and these representations of women? How are these propagated throughout the country? And has it changed from colonial Bahamas to now contemporary 2016 Bahamas? Or has it changed? Do you see any changes? And another thing in the video, when they talk about the life of black Bahamian citizens and also the life of colonial citizens, and we can see the leisure life of the tourists when they come to the island, and the colonial people when they masters, when they are on the island, they swim in the pool and play golf and do, you know. And then you have the black Bahamians with their trays and drinks serving these people, you know. And so it's still an island of servitude, even though, you know, we've switched now, you're paid with it, but these massive plantations have now been replaced, and is now the massive hotel. You know, the names has just changed, the service is still the same, the way it's represented is still the same, the way it's propagated, it's marketed, it's still the same. It's not just now that the plantation has moved into the hotels. And the history of the Bahamas. You, as tourists, now traveling to the Bahamas, what are your expectations, and see how the history of the Bahamas, how it's marketed to you, and see all these images of the Bahamian people. What are your thoughts? How do you think that you would be treated as a tourist in the Bahamas? Go ahead, go on.
I think they treat me nicely, and people there are very friendly, and they want people to come visit Bahamas.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Duha. They will treat me nicely because I didn't go there yet, but I saw a lot of videos that Bahamian people have fun with the tourists, and they make like celebrations and dance and events.
Do activities.
And many activities, yes. And so I think if I will go there, I will have much fun with those people.
Okay, good, thank you. Raju, ready?
I think the Bahamas people is very nice when I want to deal with them, and I have to be visitor to.
So you have to visit. Yeah. Okay. Well, we see, you know, now that the #1 industry in the Bahamas is tourism. So the people of the country has to be very involved and very in tune if they want to survive, you know. And so sometimes these roles between servitude and host, they become mixed up and the lines are blurred, but the Bahamian people, they know that, okay, if I want to live, I want to survive, I have to be nice to these tourists, okay? And until the country diversify its economy, that's the way that it's going to be. So, thank you.